Okay, good afternoon, and very warm welcome to this session on railways as catalyst for urban development. I hope you had a very good, exciting sessions earlier in this morning, and we are starting right on time to be very true to the spirit of the efficient railway services at 2 p.m. So today, my name is Satomi Sakaguchi, Senior Transport Specialist from Asian Development Bank. And today we have a very esteemed panel of speakers. So I would like to introduce them. So next to myself, Mr. Marcus Rosner, Director for Railways and Logistics of Transport Sector Office of ADB. He has nearly 30 years of experience, professional experience in railway, starting from German railways. And he joined ADB in 2008. And initially, he worked in South Asian countries like Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka. And more recently, he had led 2 flagship railway projects here in the Philippines, the Marlos-Clark Railway Project and South Commuter Railway Project. Since June 2023, he has been serving as Director for Railway and Logistics in current setup. And next to Marcus is Managing Director, National Capital Region Transport Corporation, and Mr. Sabra Goel. And he has started his very long career as a batch 1989 officer as part of the very prestigious Indian Railway Services electrical engineer from Indian Railways. He has held a number of very important offices around the arms of the Indian Railways, including Executive Director at the Ministry of Railways, Divisional Railway Manager of the Mumbai Division of Central Railway, Chief Electrical Locomotive Engineer and Central Railway, and Senior Deputy General Manager come Chief Vigilance Officer of Western Railway, to name but a few. During his tenure as DRM Mumbai, he also oversees the responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. He's presently leading transformation in regional mobility as the Managing Director of the National Capital Region Transport Corporation. And next to Mr. Goel is Assistant Secretary Mr. Eduardo Macbanas, Department Transportation of here in the Philippines. So in his role as the Assistant Secretary for Railways in his department, he supports the planning, coordination, and the implementation of the country's railway and urban transport project. He works very closely with the DOTR leadership and other railway agencies in the Philippines in advancing major transport infrastructure initiatives here. And next to Mr. Eden is the Ms. Anneli Lontok. She's currently acting executive director of the Philippine Railway Institute. However, today she is speaking on behalf of UIC, International Union of Railways, as its country representative in the Philippines. She has been very dedicated civil servant for more than 40 years. She has been held various positions such as Assistant Regional Director at Department of Trade and Industry in the National Capital Region, Assistant Secretary for the Office of President Priority and Official Development Assistance, Assistance Funded Project Office, and later she has been appointed as the first female Assistant Secretary to head the Land Transportation Office. And lastly, but not certainly the least, Mr. Sean Tan from UITP. He brings an exceptional range of experience of more than 20 years in public transport and urban mobility-related fields. He has held key appointments in leading transport operators in both Singapore and in France, more specifically RATOPDEV and TransDev, and also in Singapore, Comfort Delgro and SBS Transit. All of them are leading transport operators in those countries. His experience range from planning, but also into implementation and operations in various countries across Asia. He's currently head of Asia Pacific at UITP, and working on stakeholder collaboration in this region. And yeah, once again, very warm welcome to all the panelists today. Okay. So So today, our session will focus on the how urban railways can support sustainable urban development. And just to provide a very brief introduction, as you know, in many of our countries where ADB works, rapid urbanization presents both opportunities and challenges for their governments. According to the recent report by UN Habitat, more than 2.2 billion people currently live in cities in Asia and the Pacific region, and this number is expected to surge by 50% by 2050. So in this context, urban mobility is essential for city residents as it facilitates access to employment, education, healthcare, and other vital services and opportunities. But this, therefore, one of the key challenges is how to serve the sharp rise in the demand for passenger transport, which is anticipated to double in Southeast Asia, for example, and to grow by 92% in South and Southwest Asia by 2050. According to the OECD estimates. Understandably, the number of urban vehicles will also rise in sync with this rapid development. And these are all leading to challenges such as road safety issues, especially for vulnerable road users, like pedestrians, cyclists, and riders of other non-motorized transport. Very concentrated in the urban areas. And of course, more widely, other issues like poor housing condition, sanitation, air pollution, vulnerability to natural disasters. This is despite all the promises that urbanization could bring, such as locating research, innovation, and business opportunity closer to one another, thus creating urban agglomeration economies with higher productivity. As transport planners today, how we could leverage transport services, especially railway services, to harness development potential of those cities in Asia and the Pacific, while addressing its negative externalities is the key. So that's today's focus of today's session. And to kickstart this discussion, I would like to invite Marcus to share what ADB has been doing currently to support the government in this very challenging endeavor with some case studies.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'll just introduce a bit how ADB was addressing this challenge in the shift towards urbanization here in Asia and Pacific region, and especially how we were working towards those, so Tomi mentioned 2.2 billion people living in urban areas, and out of them, still today, like 1.4 billion lacking proper access to public transport. So since 2010, ADB portfolio shifted its focus from initially like 18% rail to now almost 45%. That's at the same time with an increase in the overall portfolio from 2.75 billion in the transport sector to nearly 4.9 billion last year. So while the share of road transport was shrinking, overall the investments in roads is not really reducing. It's more that the railway and urban transport portion are significantly growing. This is, of course, to address those needs in urbanization, but also we still need a multimodal integration with road, as every journey will start and end on a road and can only then, once we reach the stations or the bus stop, only then we can use public transport. Currently, ADB portfolio in rail and metro transport is focusing very much here in the Philippines on the North-South Railway. That's about 50% of the portfolio, or $7 billion US dollar investments. Then around 6 billion in South Asia region, India and Bangladesh. Many metro projects in India, Bangladesh, more on the railway side, and a very small investment in Sri Lanka. And there is roughly 1 billion of investments in more traditional rail projects and electrification projects in Central and West Asia region, like Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. Overall in the world, I see, or we can see a shift in the rail urban mobility, in that sense that many of the metros have been established, but since urbanization is growing and more people are moving into urban areas, we'll see everywhere that more regional systems with regional coverage are added to the traditional like metro underground system in the cities. So we see this in many European metropolis, or as an example also in the Republic of Korea with the GTX system, in Seoul, the Japanese system getting more and more integrated, but also expanding more into suburban areas. And we can see this trend now also in some of our developing countries, like two of the projects we will also be discussing more in detail today, like the Delhi-Meerut Regional Rapid Transit System and the North-South Commuter Railway here in the Philippines. Delhi-Meerut, first corridor out of initial 3 corridors under consideration, and the very interesting part here is it's also expanding out of the national capital New Delhi and almost covering 82 kilometers into the state of UP. And it's interesting from that part. It's of course well integrated in New Delhi, but also at the other end in Meerut there is a metro system using the same infrastructure and providing here also good connectivity between the sub-regional and then the urban transportation in the system. And we are looking forward also to 2 more corridors being implemented here very soon. Philippine North-South Commuter Railway, flagship project for ADB, kindly requested by the government to finance this system. It's our largest investment ever, with $7 billion US dollar out of a total project cost of nearly $15 billion US dollar, and is in co-financing with JICA from Japan International Cooperation Agency. aiming to decongest Metro Manila, integrate with the subway systems here within Manila. It will be integrated with the Metro Manila subway system, so providing more direct services for passengers. And as a special feature, it will connect the regional growth center in Clark and new Clark to be expanded Clark International Airport to Manila in less than 1 hour. So to have a very high class access here, showing another example of these systems covering more the regions towards urban, congested urban areas like Manila. And the system is part of the overall strategy of the Philippine government to build those regional growth centers around Clark and New Clark City, also to improve the resilience in the country, to decentralize a bit from focus on Manila. So developing strong backbone public transport will help to facilitate this one. We see these kind of new and a bit wider projects require particular integration with aspects like the multimodal integration, universal access, but also to make them successful, also future operation and maintenance strategies. So we'll see here new areas where ADB will also try to expand to support governments in developing it. Widening from what we were traditionally doing is more like the red part here, the implementation, financing the project implementation, but also to cover upfront preparation, and for these large projects, of course, the cost extremely high also for the preparation. So we are, for example, here in the Philippines providing up to 500 million loan to the Philippine government to prepare transport and water projects, so that this complex preparation can be taken care of. But we are here also through our Office for Market Development and PPP. We are helping to select the concessionaire for the operation and maintenance of the system, and we are in discussion to provide a credit guarantee to support the payments for the O&M contract here. So moving to support this changing environment in urban and regional rail transport, we are expanding our products also from the investment support to preparation support, but also what we call small expenditure financing facilities that can cover even operation and maintenance support, and some pilot works to improve the project preparation, and then in the implementation phase of the project, moving towards those O&M support, for example, through transaction advisory services, or support by private sector department, or support by credit guarantees. This will shift our portfolio a bit from traditional investment projects, especially the credit guarantee here mentioned for the Philippines, and at the same time we are also planning to expand the portfolio into the Central and West Asian region, where we currently receiving a lot of interest for projects like Baku Metro expansion, or Pakistan railway rehabilitation, or this project here in Turkey, which is the InRail project, new railway line around Istanbul, 120-kilometer project that will help to connect European and Asian part of Turkey, provide regional connectivity from Central Asia to Europe, and serve for passenger transport in Turkey towards the two airports in Istanbul and bypassing the densely congested Istanbul city. In Azerbaijan, we are supporting Baku Metro with the re-signaling of the metro system, and we are preparing expansion of the metro system, another way to improve the coverage of the urban rail in the city. Jakarta Metro, we are preparing an east-west line together with JICA that will, as we can see from the map, nicely integrate with existing and future public transport and therefore improve the urban network. And in Bangladesh, we are continuing our cooperation with the Bangladesh Railway to expand the railway system, convert it to dual gauge and integrate it also with the planned Dhaka Metro Line 5 project. Philippines, I already mentioned the partial credit guarantee that will help to support selection of a contractor for the operation and maintenance of the system. And Pakistan Railway, I also mentioned, is mainline system rehabilitation on a 1800 corridor, the first 480 kilometer from Karachi to improve here the railway system. So thank you very much. That's an overview of our operations.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Really impressive project list, and we are also very excited about new opportunities that we are trying to help create in some of our member countries. So next, we'd like to invite Managing Director Goel and to provide more in-depth look into his project, Delhi Meerut Regional Rapid Transport Systems in Delhi, India. It's a really, this project is really expected to be a catalyst to address very severe challenges of the urbanization in Delhi, India. And ADB has been very proud to have been a supporter of this project. First, I think we will see the video on this project, and after that, let us hear from MDs. Yeah, okay.
The National Capital Region of India has seen an unprecedented industrial, commercial, and residential boom over the last 3 decades. Rapid economic development and urbanization has led to the need for a holistic upgradation of its infrastructure. One of the key infrastructure upgrades identified by the government is to improve the quality of life by investing in a high-speed regional mobility solution that will decarbonize the region and reduce dependence on private vehicles. With this objective, NCRTC, that is National Capital Region Transport Corporation, was incorporated to design, finance, construct, operate, and maintain a dedicated rail-based regional rapid transit system. RRTS is a rail-based high-speed, high-frequency, reliable, safe, and universally accessible commuter network that will connect national capital and other key urban nodes across NCR. India's first RRTS is being implemented on an 82 kilometers long corridor between Delhi, Ghaziabad and Meerut. Estimated cost of this corridor is $3.9 billion, of which around $2 billion is being funded by multilateral banks. The corridor has been operationalized in different stages. Travel time between Delhi and Meerut has reduced to 1/3, that is, less than 1 hour. Around 8 lakh commuters are expected to benefit daily by this corridor. More than 1 lakh private vehicles are estimated to go off the road. seamless integration of RRTS with other transport modes such as airport, railway stations, bus terminals, and metro stations is another testament of NCRTC's commitment towards commuter centricity. In a unique initiative, Namo Bharat trains and Meerut Metro trains for intracity connectivity will both run on the same RRTS infrastructure for the first time in the country. For the first time ever in the world, NCRTC has deployed ETCS Level 2 Hybrid Level 3 signaling on LTE backbone, suitable for 180 km/h design speed. Amongst the many firsts, these fastest trains are primarily operated by women train operators. Additionally, majority of operation staffs are also women. Extensive efforts are being made for developing TOD plans and corridor-level property development strategies to create economic center. RRTS is all set to improve access to healthcare, education, and quality of life like never before. NCRTC is creating a citizen-centric, eco-friendly mode of transport that is committed to deliver progress through speed.
MD, very impressive project indeed, and very comprehensive solution that this project provides to the challenges of urbanization. Maybe we could hear a bit more about the some of the good lessons and or key success factors out of this project from you.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. You've already shown the film. Maybe it talks about what has been done in NCRTC. Basically, let me tell you that how the concept emerged. Most of the cities in the world, including the capital of India, New Delhi, they have been facing congestion problems. And as a result of this, people are finding it difficult to live in the city center. The cost of living in the city is high. So people start living far away from the cities. But when they have to commute far away from the cities to the city center, it takes more time, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe even more. So that was the genesis of this project when the government decided that we should have a semi-high-speed kind of a corridor around Delhi. And 8 such corridors were decided along the radius of Delhi, and each will be about, say, 100 kilometers or so. So the basic idea is that you can commute from outside the city to the city center within 1 hour, and 100 kilometers or so can be covered within 1 hour. So this current corridor from Delhi to Modipuram, which was shown in the video, is 82 kilometers. And we are able to cover this in, within 1 hour, which used to take about 3 hours earlier. So the people who were living in Delhi earlier at a very costly living place, now they are living far away from the city and spending less amount of time in commuting, as well as spending less amount in their livelihood. So it has been sort of a game changer. And the complete area, not only the stations, the complete area has come up. The villages around that corridor have come up. The government has done a very, very strong transit-oriented development policy. And all the stakeholders, right from the central government to state government to our loan lending agency, for example, ADB and others also, all of them have been board. So everything was aligned, and as a result of this, we were able to complete the project within the stipulated timelines and within the stipulated cost. So it is not easy. Now, you see the kind of impact it has. Students which were living in Delhi in the rented apartments at very costly prices and in a not such a good condition, now they can live away from the city, commute, and the tickets are also very, very affordable. So the kind of a transportation system, the impact which has, is clearly visible here. And now the government of India is thinking of having more such corridors, not only in NCR region of Delhi, but also across India. And it's a lesson which we have learned, And it's a good lesson which you have learned. And in the current economic survey which the government of India has taken out, the government of India talks about 2,900 kilometers of more such corridors in the times to come, which means 50 times more increase. So it is sort of a lesson for us in India and maybe for some other countries also, that what we can learn and how a public transportation system can change the overall scenario and the lifestyle of a common man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MD Goel. We see that very clear vision and a very streamlined planning process by the government. Indian government could have been probably the key essence for this success of the project in the stated timeline and also within the cost. So next, we would like to invite Assistant Secretary Macabros. Those who have dared to get to the streets of Manila over the last few days must have been probably struck by the traffic in this city. So, so you can obviously see the enormity of the challenge that Assistant Secretary is trying to address in this city. And his department, Transportation, has indeed a very ambitious railway development program to decongest the city and achieve the development potential of this very urbanized city. Assistant Secretary, it is a true privilege to hear from you about your office's efforts for reshaping Manil's urban landscape with all these projects. So let us hear from you.
All right, thank you, Satomi. Just as a visual aid, we prepared one slide to show everyone today the current context of the Philippine transportation network, particularly in rail, and where we intend to go in the soonest future, we hope. The unfortunate reality that the Philippines is facing, particularly in its national capital region, is, as mentioned earlier, traffic. In a very recent study, the 2025 Transport Index, we were ranked #1 in terms of traffic congestion. And I always joke this, you want to be #1 in a lot of things, but I'm sure traffic is not one of them. And it's been proven all over the world that the real solution to traffic is mass transport. And when it comes to mass transport, there is simply no more efficient mass transport solution than railways. And this is something that we've known since the 1970s, particularly for the Philippines, where we've had master plans, studies, planning our railway lines, including those that we are building today. But unfortunately, we only started building them in the last 10 years. So you'll see on the left-hand side of the slide our current railway network, and it's only in the capital, and it's only 3 lines. It's only 61 kilometers. And given the congestion, the population growth in the Philippines, these 3 lines are simply not enough to support economic growth, mobility of the people in the capital. And that's why in the last 15 years, the department has heavily invested in a railway push, which includes investment approved, ongoing project, and some those that are moving towards implementation in the amount of almost 2 trillion pesos. And over the last 10 years, we have awarded 58 contracts with a total contract cost of 1.2 trillion pesos to over 150 firms, more than 15 countries, including those in projects that are supported by JICA and ADB. At the center of this railway push is the North-South Commuter Rail, which you see information on the right side of the screen. Apart from it being a railway, a mass transport solution, another bird, another bird that the stone seeks to hit is decongestion, particularly in our capital. Because the North-South Commuter Rail is a 147-kilometer rail line that will connect Region 3 in the north to our capital, National Capital Region, and Region 4A in the south, because simply our capital is too congested at the moment. I guess on the last item that Satomi was asking, particularly on lessons learned in the implementation of this project, I mentioned earlier that we've had master plans suggesting the building of these rail lines in the last 50 years. But unfortunately, these master plans, these feasibility studies ended up on shelves. What we did, I guess, to make shelves turn into shovels on the ground is investing heavily on resources, not only in time, but also in financial resources, in heavy project development. Anecdotally, all around the world, we've heard that at least 1% of total project cost of projects should be invested in project development. And this is something that we've had a great focus on, particularly in the last 10 years. Such as, for example, in the NSCR, where we sought project development assistance, not just from one, but from 2 development partners, including, of course, JICA and ADB. And this is something that we are moving towards for our future projects, including one that was mentioned by Marcos earlier on the infrastructure preparation and innovation facility, where the Philippine government is entering into loan agreements with the ADB to support our massive requirement for resources needed for project development for our future projects. We always say that our current pipeline is not enough. So what you see, the 2030s pipeline is not enough. One generation of railway projects will not solve our current problems today. So we are continuing to invest into project development and master plans for a 30-year rail master plan that we are also being supported on by JICA and ADB. And we will be sure to implement all the best practices and learnings that we are currently learning in our first generation pipeline into the second generation and future pipelines of rail projects to come in the Philippines. Thank you, Satomi.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary, for highlighting the importance of master planning and also very well thought out financing plan, especially in terms of developing projects. And I understand you are in Pampanga from very early morning to visit the project site. We really admire your dedication to the mission under your program. And next,
Sorry, Satomi, one more thing. Thank you for reminding me that. Earlier today, I was with our secretary as we inspected one station for the North-South commuter rail. And the amount of time it took me to go to Pampanga and back was simply staggering. So it's a priority for us to finish this North-South commuter rail very soon. And we're pleased to announce to everyone that we are looking for partial operations for this line at the end of this of 2027 for the Valenzuela to Malolos segment, all the way to Clark sometime in 2028. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Asik. We can see very the excited faces around this hall. Thank you. So next, we would like to hear a bit different perspectives from the UIC and also UITP, who support those the project agencies across the world. So first of all, the Ms. Lontok, can we speak on behalf of UIC, mobilize how your organization assist in this country, the mobilizing railway investment for sustainable urban development. As we understand, one core mission of the UIC is to promote harmonizing railway standards and requirements on system integration, and then thus promote interoperability. As urban public transport systems anchored by railway services by nature need to become very well connected, and while adapting to the unique local context, I would imagine that the role of UIC is only going to be bigger and perhaps more complex. We would really love to hear UIC's experience on successfully assisting the connectivity in urban railway services.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm asked to present the UIC's perspective on what we are talking about here, about the railway development. Yes, in the context of rapid urbanization, we cannot underestimate the social and economic value of well-planned community-oriented transportation system. Across many Asian countries, growth has outpaced infrastructure. The result is familiar, as was mentioned by my co-panelists: long commutes, worsening air and noise pollution, road safety risks, and reduced quality of life. These challenges directly affect productivity, public health, and equity, often hitting the most vulnerable communities the hardest. Rail offers a structural response to these pressures. First, it moves far more people efficiently within limited urban space, easing congestion along key corridors. Improves travel time reliability, as was already been mentioned. Third, it electrified and significantly reduces per passenger emissions. And fourth, it connects housing to jobs across wider metropolitan regions. Critically, rail also helps how cities grow. Through transit-oriented development, it encourages compact, high-density communities centered around stations, rather than car-dependent urban sprawl. This improves access to jobs and services while lowering congestion and emissions. At the systems level, UIC's work on standards and interoperability strengthens integration across modes, linking rail with air and road networks. This is essential for building seamless multimodal transport network that can support sustainable urbanization. A compelling example is Delhi, already mentioned earlier by Mr. Guel, but through the combined efforts of this is the example that UIC has, would like to share with you. Because of the combined efforts of the Delhi Metro and the NCRTC regional rail system, the city has demonstrated how rail can directly mitigate urbanization challenges. In Delhi Metro alone, the Delhi Metro alone has delivered measurable impacts. Nearly 600,000 fewer cars on the road daily. Significant reductions in fuel consumption and air pollutants, and over 300 million hours saved annually, translating into major productivity gains. That's a lot. These outcomes were rigorously documented, including in the UIC's work on carbon credit methodologies for rail. Building on this, UIC is exploring similar impact assessments for other systems, including emerging rail projects in the Philippines, to quantify benefits in congestion reduction, emissions avoided, and economic savings. The key lesson for Asia is clear. Urban rail is just a transport solution. It is a development strategy. It delivers measurable gains in congestion, emissions, and livability, while strengthening economic productivity and supporting more inclusive, sustainable cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lontok. The integration and including interoperability is a very complex area, and I think there are still a lot to work on in our member countries, and we are really appreciative of the strong support of UIC in this particular area. We also would like to hear the perspective of UITP from Sean. Sean, you have a different platform to assist more than 2,000 public transport authorities across the world. Would you please share best international industry practice and innovations from some of the UITP members?
Thank you, Satomi. Good afternoon, our fellow mobility sectors counterparts. It's a pleasure for me to sit alongside UITP's member, NCRTC, Department of Transport, and also our close partners, ADB and UIC. Yeah. So UITP is indeed the largest global public transport network, representing more than 2,000 members over 100 countries, meaning we have an outreach to a very diverse group of practitioners sharing wide variety of experiences. Okay, so let me share some of the industry best practices. Okay, we are all witnessing public transport entering into a new phase of transformation. The focus is no longer about moving people from point to point efficiently. It is also about delivering sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and digitally connected cities. Okay? From UITP's recent work globally, and especially across Asia Pacific, I would like to highlight a few important trends and lessons. First, rail continues to be the backbone of sustainable urban mobility. Across Asia Pacific, urban rail remains one of the largest and fastest expanding transport modes. But successful rail systems today are no longer developed in isolation. We increasingly see integrated multi-modal planning, connecting rail with buses, active mobility, first and last mile services, and transit-oriented development. So we are seeing the need for robust ecosystems to make each line successful. And we saw the video just now by NCRTC, cutting travel time by 1/3, and connecting to so many of the other modes of transport for convenience to the commuters. So congratulations. So secondly, on digitalization and integrated mobility, public transport agencies are increasingly adopting AI-supported operations, predictive maintenance, and real-time passenger information systems. The most successful examples are those where technology improves customer experience and operational efficiency simultaneously. With digitization, it is also allows various modes of public transport in making journeys seamless and accessible. A fast example of a fast implementation on AI that can be very easily to be implemented will be the handling of inquiries, customer inquiries. For example, we have members in Japan, handling more than 300,000 inquiries monthly. That is equivalent to about 10,000 a day. Correct. So their chatbox, they introduced their chatbox systems that handles route inquiries, lost items, and also perform email replies. Right. So this allowed their staff to be put to more operational critical tasks. And imagine handling more than 10,000 inquiries or so a day and taking 1 to 2 minutes each for each staff. You will be needing close to 20 staff a day to handle this kind of inquiries. So imagine by implementing this kind of digital tools, the manpower you can save, and the cost as well. So third, resilience and operational sustainability has also become priorities. Transport authorities has been planning for climate resilience, cybersecurity risks, and financial sustainability. So we have been supporting our members in developing long-term governance and highlighting different funding models that ensure reliable and affordable services. We also publish many successful publications to be shared with our members, and all these are available in our digital library 24/7. Correct. So finally, one key lessons from UITP global experience is this. There is no single best model that can be simply be copied from one city to another. That is why peer-to-peer learning and practical implementation knowledge are so valuable. The most heartening takeaway in my work is to see so many of our members selflessly sharing their experience to their counterparts in many of our regional and global rail committees. And they come together and provide cross-sharing of experiences in our regional, divisional, and global summits. And our summit in 2027 will be held in Hamburg from 14 to 17 June. We also have our Asia Pacific Urban Rail Platform to be held on September 14 to 17 in Taipei City this year. So do mark all these dates in your calendar, and we welcome our fellow urban rail operators to join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. And we really appreciate sharing the very practical lessons or good practice of utilizing AI in railway services, and also your key message that there's no single best model, which is very reassuring for us. I see Marcus and the rest of the panelists nodding heads. As at ADB, we work with 69 countries, and we really need to make sure we adapt solutions to very unique context of each of these 69 countries. Here, we also would like to take this opportunity to show a brief video to introduce the activities and missions and activities of the UITP. Would that be okay, Sean?
Yes, definitely. It's not UITP activities. It's
okay.
Actually what was shared yesterday by our Secretary General on the World Public Transport Day on 17th of April. So this is a wrap-up video. And of course, we welcome everyone to join us next year on 17th of April again to celebrate this journey of public transport together.
I am excited to see the celebration for the first ever World Public Transport Day. It's a powerful global moment to celebrate the essential role public transport play in our daily lives. I applaud the effort of many of our members taking part from all continents.
Pier 17, we move, we rise. World Transport Day, city unified.
Together, we've shown the power of public transport, connecting people, supporting our economies, and shaping more sustainable cities. Thank you, and thank you to our partners for helping make this celebration a reality. One day, millions of journeys. This is just the beginning. See you on the 17th of April, 2027.
So do mark April 17 in your calendar every year, for every year, okay? Not just next year, it's every year. Thank you.
Okay, thank Thank you very much, Sean. And yeah, very exciting day. We look forward to it. So for the remainder of the session, we'd like to turn to more specific areas of challenges in developing urban railway services in Asia and the Pacific. That is stakeholder coordination and governance. As we have seen so far, urban railway project could become really complex with multiple public and private stakeholders involved at various stages from planning to operation, and probably with more diverse passenger profile. So seamless coordination with those stakeholders is essential for successful urban railway project while managing the expectations. So let us first hear from Managing Director NCRTC, Mr. Goel. So you have been working with one city, Delhi, and 3 states, and on top of the central government agencies to develop the RRTS network. You also mentioned the very holistic transit-oriented development program, which is part of this RRTS project. I'm sure you have had really enormous work dedicated for coordinating all these stakeholders. Would you share your experience and how you overcome some of those challenges?
Thank you. The first and foremost thing in this is that you must know who your stakeholders are. And if I start counting the number of stakeholders, maybe they may cross 50. But to name a few, the biggest stakeholder, first of all, me being an executive agency, NCRTC being an executive agency, would be my ministry, MAUA, then the various state governments, then the lending agencies like ADB, the various electricity boards from which I am taking power, the people from whom I am acquiring the land, and one of the biggest stakeholders are the customers. And amongst the customers, I would also like to differentiate between people who are differently able, the women, the children, the various district authorities with whom I have to coordinate for the transit-oriented development, and the villages nearby who are going to sort of gain out of this development. And all these different stakeholders have to be aligned if the project has to progress seamlessly. Even if one of your stakeholders is not happy with you, then the project cannot progress. And for that, lot of stakeholder consultations are required at each and every stage, and we need to engage with the stakeholders right from the day one. We need to sort of forecast and estimate what my customers as stakeholders they are going to look for. What are their expectations? What kind of stations do they want? How much do they have to travel inside the station? So there comes in the architecture of the station. What would be the last mile connectivity? For that, I have to sort of connect with the bus operators, with the EV vehicles, even with the road transporters. So if you start, our experience has been that if you start having a dialogue with them right from day one, then things fall in line. Initially, there'll be some rough edges. But if we start sitting across the table, talking to each other, understanding each other's point of view, then things fall in line. And as a result of this only, we were able to sort out all the issues with almost very negligible complaints even after the operations. Generally, it has been appreciated. The project has been appreciated by all the stakeholders, and as a result of this only, we have been able to get so many awards, including, as mentioned, 2 awards by UIC and 2024. One was the Sustainability Award, and another was the Best Upcoming Project Award. So stakeholders are God, and customers are God, as was said earlier also. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Managing Director Goel. We really appreciate your emphasis on seamless alignment and large number of consultation to really understand the needs of each and all of the stakeholders. That's a very important lesson for all of us involved in urban railway development. We also wish to hear from Assistant Secretary Eden. Your projects are large and encompassing several provinces, as you already mentioned. And in addition, your office has been engaging very heavily with the private sector for operation phases. So we also would like to hear from your experience, what are the good lessons learned?
Okay. Let's put up the slide, please. Okay, there. In terms of stakeholder management, and as mentioned by my colleague, it's really all stakeholder management. We have this concept of our circle of trust. And this is essentially gaining the trust of all your stakeholders at all phases of the project life cycle. Starting, for example, if you look at the circle, project development, we must gain the trust of those that approve our projects. And this goes to the very top of the national government, because our investment approving body, formerly the NEDA board, now the Economy and Development Council, is headed by no less than our president. Next, now you have an approved project. Next, you need financing. It's not very easy to ask for money from lenders. Our friends on the right side of the panel would certainly agree to that. And you certainly have to show them that your project makes sense, your project is feasible, and that it addresses the needs not just of a single group, but of everyone, for them to give you financing, much more substantial financing, to the tune of what was mentioned earlier, the biggest financing in ADB history for the combined NSCR project. Next, now you have a project with financing. Next, you need budget. And the one peculiar thing about the Philippine government is our budget is approved every year, not just by the executive, but also by the legislative. So we must show not only our colleagues in our oversight government agencies in the executive, but also our legislators, that the money of the Filipinos, the taxpayers, are put into good use. Because if you put money into transport, this may be money taken away, for example, to building public classrooms, irrigated land, which of course is equally important in given all the stakeholders that we have. Next is on the procurement. You may have a good project, you may have financing and budget, but if no one wants to bid for your projects, then the projects will never happen. And at the core of this, we believe, is really transparency. Transparency to all bidders. We have to make sure that everyone has a fair shake of the hands, and that everyone is on equal footing in terms of our procurement process. This circle of trust goes all the way into including acquiring land for the right of way. Of course, our workforce, which has significantly increased since we have started implementing the projects. And of course, coordinating with all other stakeholders, including the private sector, as mentioned earlier, because for our projects, we have taken the hybrid approach with the government financing the build of the projects and getting a private concessionaire for the operations and maintenance. So there, essentially, stakeholder management is a circle of trust from us from the very beginning of the project until operations. And for us, projects must be beneficial, must be feasible, and especially in built-up environments, must be implemented in the least intrusive way. It must make sense not just for one group, but for everyone.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary. The words that you mentioned, such as confidence, transparency, inclusiveness, and of course, trust. These are really, we do believe, the key essence of the successful stakeholder coordination. And I would like to highlight especially that in his office, the Department of Transportation has been having to progress on all these areas that he mentioned, all at the same time. So land acquisition, contracting, budgeting, securing budget, and financing. So the resulting level and amount of coordination could have been very, very enormous. And we really, once again, would like to praise your efforts for advancing all this at all these fronts. And yeah, thank you. And we also would like to hear from our director, Marcus. So, Marcus, you have worked in various countries, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and most recently in the Philippines. And as director of railway and logistics team, you oversee all 69 countries. So, of course, each of these countries can have very different, unique stakeholder context, but based on your very broad experience across all these regions and the countries, what would be the role for organization like financier ADB? And I would also like to note that in our team, we have been notching up our upstream support in coordination, such as master planning, institutional review, and building. So in urban railways, the sector. So if you could share some of our experience, much appreciated.
Yep, thank you. The project basically needs implementation from the government, and we need champions on the government side to lead those projects and implement them, do all the coordination in the country level. Our side can support with experience from other countries that have gone through similar projects before. We can provide funding for project preparation, for the design. We can help with the capacity development. We have our ADB procedures also on land acquisition, on environmental aspects in the procurement side. So we are happy to help also here with the support and experience gained from similar projects in other countries, so to avoid also that, for example, as mentioned, bidding would fail or those kind of areas by providing conditions in the contracts that are favorable to the contractors, that the design is implementable, and that also the estimates for the implementation time are realistic, so that contractors and other parties may be interested in operation of the project will also have a realistic picture of the project and get attracted by giving them a realistic and for them also beneficial environment. ADB has also been more and more coordinating with co-financing partners, because all the projects we were talking today are quite large scale and very complex projects. Even one development bank cannot handle by itself. So these projects, like in the Philippines or in India, were financed by 2 to 3 co-financing parties. The project mentioned in Turkey, the InRail project around Istanbul, has 6 co-financing parties, because the investment is that huge and the project cannot be split into small pieces. It has to be implemented in one go to have the benefits. So here we can support and are happy also to help with the coordination amongst those co-financing partners that bring their own experience and knowledge into the project. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Yes, as our project, ADB assisted project gets bigger and more complex, we are working towards mobilizing financing from other development partners. And that's where we really need to strengthen our coordination. And now we'd like to turn the Ms. Lontok, representing UIC. So UIC engages with leading industry players in the global railway sector and helps strengthen technical governance across those countries, and also institutional governance. How would you see UIC's role in supporting those countries through going through massive evolution in technical governance and institutional evolution. Thank you.
One of the most persistent challenges in urban rail development is managing multiple stakeholders, as what has already been said earlier. Delivering successful projects requires coordination across ministries or departments, city authorities, operators, investors, developers, and civil society. Yet too often, these actors work in silos. This is where a neutral platform becomes essential. UIC plays this role as a trusted, non-commercial convener. It provides a space where stakeholders can align long-term objectives, openly discuss constraints, and exchange practical experience. Through its regional forums and technical working groups, UIC helps bring together stakeholders across the full life cycle, from planning to delivery to operation, while keeping the passenger at the center of the discussion. This coordination is supported by UIC's work on international standards and common technical language. This helps reduce interface risks between actors, improve interoperability across systems, and enable smoother integration, not only within rail networks, but also across modes, including aviation and road transport. Equally important is ensuring that rail systems respond to diverse passenger needs. UIC also advances this through its international railway solutions, promoting universal accessibility, better services for persons with reduced mobility, and gender-responsive station design. It also supports integrated customer-focused systems through intermodality, seamless ticketing between air and rail, and practical solutions that make rail a viable alternative to private car use in rapidly growing cities. Beyond technical coordination, stakeholders' alignment is also critical in financing. A major barrier today is the mismatch between high upfront investment costs of rail and financing models that prioritize long-term returns. UIC helps bridge this gap by convening operators, public authorities, and development banks to address common financing constraints and improve project bankability. One key area is carbon finance. UIC is working with its members of 217 from almost 100 countries and forming a coalition to update methodologies for carbon credits, particularly for urban mass transit, high-speed rail, and modal shift. This is essential to align with Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement and enable rail projects to access emerging carbon markets. By developing credible and standardized methodologies, these efforts can unlock new predictable revenue streams, improving financial viability of rail projects, and is strengthening the case for greater MDB participation. At the same time, UIC supports a system-level approach, highlighting the aggregated climate mitigation potential of rail, particularly in low and middle-income countries. This helps position rail not as isolated investments, but as strategic drivers of climate resilience and sustainable growth. Ultimately, the goal is not to create proprietary solutions, but enabling frameworks which are common, credible, and scalable. UIC works with its members to strengthen capacity, support peer learning, and equip stakeholders with the tools needed to apply these methodologies effectively. The key takeaway is this: successful urban rail development depends not only on infrastructure, but on coordination across stakeholders, across systems, and across financing frameworks. And platforms like UIC play a critical role in making that coordination work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lontok. Inclusiveness and accessibility and also financial viability, sustainability. We see that these are all very important qualities to gain the support of the stakeholders, especially as the projects get bigger and putting probably bigger financial constraints to our government than before. Thank you very much for touching upon this very important topic. And Sean from UITP, we also like to hear your perspective. I think we would like to hear particularly on lessons on improving inclusive accessibility because your constituencies include not just railways, but other transport modes which provide very vital connectivity to railway services. So we would really appreciate if you can share your experience.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so put it simply, inclusiveness and accessibility should not be treated as optional add-on at the end of a project. You know, this must be actually embedded, you know, from the earliest planning stage, you know, through design, construction, operations, and consideration, you know, for future upgrades. You know. From our perspective, there are several priorities, you know, that countries, emerging cities should work on. First, you know, adopting universal design principles, you know, from the beginning, you know. So accessibility works best when it is integrated into the core design philosophy, rather than, you know, retrofitted later at much, which will cost much more, you know, when you retrofit it later. So station, rolling stocks, ticketing systems, signages, and digital platform, you know, should all be designed to serve the graying populations, children and passengers with reduced mobility. It should also be designed, you know, with a long-term perspective of a city's development, providing capacity allowances for future enhancement. Second, accessibility is not just physical, but it can also be digital. Okay, so modern PT systems increasingly rely on the mobile applications, you know, like what we always use every day now, you know. So digital ticketing and also real-time informations. So these digital services must also be accessible and inclusive, especially in the user interfaces. So, and third, you know, engaging communities and users early. So the most successful inclusive projects are those where, you know, users themselves, including disability groups, community organizations, getting involved during the planning and testing stages. So accessibility should be informed by, you know, life experience and not only by technical standards. So it was actually quite comforting, you know, yesterday to hear from an accessibility advocate yesterday that, you know, they have, you know, frequently been consulted together with the DOTR, you know, many times on their new lines implementation. So that was a very heartening discussion, you know, with this group of people. Okay. So fourth, you know, integration matters. You know, accessible rail station alone is not enough if, you know, you don't get pedestrian footfall. You know, correct. So definitely we have to make our stations more integrated with consideration for other modes of transports as well. So inclusiveness definitely requires a complete journey perspective. You know, not just, you know, drawing a line at the station and that's it. You know, we should not look at a very silo project perspective, you know, but as a whole ecosystem within within and beyond the station. Okay, so fifth, we'll come to affordability and social inclusion are equally important. Of course, I think Manila is very much in terms of public transport is affordable. So now it's more on the accessibility. So, and it is not only about the infrastructures, fair policy, service coverage, safety, and reliability all influence whether vulnerable populations can truly access to opportunities in education, employment, and healthcare. So in closing, the challenges facing cities today are actually quite significant, but there are also many opportunities. So with stronger partnership, knowledge sharing, and long-term commitment, we believe we can build transport systems that are not only efficient and modern, but also inclusive, resilient, and more people-centered. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. We fully agree with your comment that accessibility or inclusivity should not be an add-on. It has to be there from the point where project starts being conceptualized. We also really appreciate that you highlighted the importance of the complete journey experience. Of course, the railways as transport mode would be in the center of it. But we do, that your comment really highlights the importance of stakeholder coordination with other transport mode. And I believe that both the NCLTC and DOTR are very much working hard in these areas. So we still have about 8 minutes left for this session. So if you have any questions to the esteemed panelists from the floor, we would like to take, I think, 1 or 2 questions we can take.
Thank you. As Aneli touched upon this financial sustainability aspect of the railways, so I would like to ask a question on this. Most of the railways, whether urban or regional railway system in the world, they require huge capital investment. And at the time of their operational phase, they have very limited upper side towards fair revision, considering the social and economic inclusion aspects. So to make them financially sustainable, we have 2 competing goals like financial sustainability and affordability. So what measures have been done in your systems or what can be done to ensure that the railway systems are able to generate enough revenues to meet their operational expenses? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's a very pertinent question that how do we make our systems sustainable? And most of the railways or most of the metro or the RRTS networks, they rely basically on 2 things, the transit-oriented development and the non-fare box revenue. So as far as NCRTC is concerned, our major portion lies in Uttar Pradesh, wherein we found that the government of Uttar Pradesh was not having a very sound transit-oriented development policy, whereas guidelines and the policy already existed from MoHUA, our parent ministry. So we coordinated with government of UP to make a transit-oriented development policy, and in which the various value capture instruments were also built in, like additional FAR and stamp duty, etc. And out of that, we could convince government of Uttar Pradesh that 50% of the value capturing instruments, whatever money is earned out of that, 50% of that should accrue to the transit-oriented agency. And they were kind enough to agree to that. And as a result of that, the revenue has already started accruing to us through the value capture finance instruments. And in fact, this is one of the very important things which perhaps is required by all the other states also in India and maybe elsewhere also. And regarding the non-fare box revenue, the kiosks, etc., they don't fetch much of a revenue. They are more from the point of view of the passengers who are commuting. But the main revenue comes from the property development. In case one has got an extra piece of land, and that can be used for property development, as we have been trying here in NCRTC. In fact, that can be one of the main sources of revenue. Then the stations, what we have got, if we can construct multi-story buildings above the stations, as has been done at many locations across the globe, then that can be a revenue churner. And ideally, the non-fare box revenue should go up to the extent of 30%, maybe even more, 40% of the total revenue. But it is easier said than done, and for that, lot of efforts are required, and that it has to go in right from the very planning stage. When you are acquiring land for the project, you have to, one has to request the state government if they can spare us with some extra land. We have to plan right from the beginning if we can go vertical. We have to plan the kiosks, etc., right from the very beginning stage, and as has been the experience of Hong Kong and so many other countries. And basically, these are the things which NCRTC is trying, like so many other metro systems. And let's believe and hope that we'll be in operational profit within a year or so. Regarding the initial project cost, that, as you said, it's a huge cost. It is going to take time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Managing Director, for sharing very recent pragmatic experience of implementing TOD for the goal of financial sustainability. We may have one more time to take one more question, if there's any burning questions. Okay. If not, I think we can. There.
Thank you. My name is Mohammad Sadiq. My question is that how can we use this investment not only for the increasing the mobility, but also use for the sustainability of the cities, better land use planning, affordable housing society, sustainable cities along the corridor? Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to take questions? Maybe Asik Eden, would you like to address that question?
Okay. Essentially, the question is how to use the transport tools not only for decongesting our cities, for example, but also for appropriate planning, for example, land use plans. And related to the earlier question, actually, I'd like to answer it in relation to the earlier question on how to make sure that investing in this very expensive mass transport tools would be financially sustainable. One strategy, for example, that the Department of Transportation is using is during the design phase, as much as possible, putting our stations on government land. One reason this is because from our MRT3 example, it's the line along EDSA outside ADB. There was an ADB study essentially measuring land value uplift after the MRT3 station was built, particularly on areas that are near or surrounding the station. And for MRT3, that's purely private land. And that's the reason why, at least for our future lines, we, to the extent possible, we used existing government land so that the uplift is something that is realized by the government, of course, for the benefit of everyone. And in areas, for example, where we have massive land available, we are looking at transit-oriented development, multi-use, of course, but also apart from that, we are also looking at possibly affordable housing. And this is very important in the context of the Philippines, particularly in Luzon, where the National Capital Region is very densely populated. And one way to decongest it is by putting affordable housing, say for example, near your stations in the provinces, because now that's an option for them to live there, take the railway, a very convenient and fast railway to the metro, continue to, for example, study or work here, but not sacrifice a huge amount of time just to make the commute.
Just to add to what the Assistant Secretary has said, in India, the government of India has done one thing, that they have put these metros and RRTS kind of systems under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which is responsible for the complete urban planning. So it is not under Ministry of Railways, it is under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So maybe that integrates and answers the question that it has to be under the agency which is responsible for the urban planning as well.
Thank you very much, Aseket and MD, and particularly highlighting the integration with affordable housing plans along the corridors of the railways, and also significance of having this RRTS and Metro project under the MOFUR, Ministry of Housing Affairs in India. At ADB, we also try to work now seamlessly with urban development sector for most of our railway projects. So I think it's about time to conclude this session. And today we had a lot of practical lessons from our esteemed panelists with various backgrounds, starting from very successful implementation of the RRTS in India, and the ongoing endeavor by the Department of Transportation in the Philippines, and also how international good practice can be translated into regional or country good practice from UIC and UITP. And ADB is very proud to be partner in this all these big initiatives, and looking forward to continuing to work together with all these partners. Thank you very much.